The Chris Johnston Show.
Let's go!
Your number one destination for a behind-the-scenes look at the game of hockey.
Is this thing on?
Here's NHL insider Chris Johnston and host Julian McKenzie.
Happy New Year, CJ, and Happy New Year to everyone listening to the Chris Johnston Show. We have made it to 2026. How's it feel?
We're in the future, bud. 2026.
I know.
Crazy. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know, man. Whenever I see years like 2025 and 2026, I'm like, these don't feel real to me yet. I mean, 2026, it'll take a couple days, obviously. But anyway, just thankful that we've all made it to this point, especially you, dear listener or viewer of our pod. For this episode, we want to look forward to some storylines in 2026. And similar to an episode we did a couple days ago, where we listed out some things we liked about 2025. CJ and I are going to surprise each other with some storylines we're looking forward to for 2026. It could be, a thing. It could be a person. It could be an event. We're just going to try to get to number 10, 1 through 10 for this exercise. I started last time, CJ, so I think it'd be cool if you started for this one.
All right. That's very gracious of you. The way I've kind of approached this in my head, Julian, is kind of like the people and stories that are going to define the year in hockey.
Yeah.
Not in the broader world. We're not getting into politics or anywhere else. But and so for me, and it's a guy, honestly, you could have picked, if we did this episode, any of the last 20 years probably. But I'm going to start with Sidney Crosby. And there's a few reasons I'm going to do that. I mean, one thing that's on all of our minds, of course, is the Olympics next month in Milan. And Sidney Crosby back at his third Olympic Games, as Team Canada's captain, could perhaps be his final Olympics. That in and of itself will be compelling, will be interesting. He'll, clearly be in the middle of whatever stories unfold there from a Canadian perspective, good or bad, most likely. It's a big time for him. But I also, and it's the new year, so I don't want to start the year by angering people in Pittsburgh, but I will just sort of wink at this could also be a year of big decisions for Sidney Crosby. And, we saw here, heading into the holidays, the Penguins really kind of nosedived a bit. And, they're still right in the mix. Obviously, the standings are so bunched up. It's hard to say definitively where any team is going at this point, but you just wonder what these next 2 months essentially will bring up to that March 6th trade line. Could there ever be anything, the team's going through a sale, so there's a change at the ownership level. Could there ever be anything that would compel him to look elsewhere? And so we won't I don't want to dig deep there because I really do not want to start the year, but I think one way or another, as he has been really since he burst onto the scene in the NHL, I think Sidney Crosby will be a very compelling character. And a low-key storyline too, Julian. He's kind of flirting with this point per game streak that he's got going. I mean, it's kind of on any given day, he's 1 up or 2 up or 1 down. And so, if he can get that to extend his own record another year, that'd be pretty cool too. So I just think 2026, we don't know how many more years we have Sidney Crosby as a player. But I think there's a lot of interesting things on the horizon for him. And, let's see if he wears any colors that aren't black and gold. We know he's going to wear red and white next month, but what about beyond that?
I love how you tried your absolute best not to choose violence with your first option, and you still somehow did with Sidney Crosby.
Well,
you tried.
You understand what I'm doing there, but
I know what you're doing.
I mean, honestly, even if he stays in Pittsburgh for his whole career, those questions will still be there, right? Like, it's still interesting. It's still going to be a point of focus. This is sort of how I think it's going to make news in a sense. Even if there is no news, there's news there kind of thing. So, and then you tack the Olympics on, the way they talked about him at that Olympic camp, Julian, like, it really stuck with me. Scott Salmon, who runs the national teams for Hockey Canada, literally said the one thing that gives us an advantage is no one else has Sidney Crosby. And while I recognize, look, he's got his place in history, one of the top scorers, blah, 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 blah. It's just interesting they're making that statement about a guy who's 38, right? It's not, historically, I don't know how much can be expected of him, but he was great at the Four Nations and he's been pretty darn good for the Penguins this year, and we'll see what kind of gas he's got left and what could be his last best on best tournament.
Yeah, I just hope for anyone who gets to watch Sidney Crosby, may we not take him for granted, no matter how long we have him as an NHL player. Still so special at his age, even if he is just 38 years old. 38 years old, a marvel. Obviously, I'm kidding with the age thing, but you get it. Sidney Crosby is the man. I want to focus on his Olympic teammate to start off my list, Conor McDavid. And I get it. We're not necessarily going to focus on his contract and future the same way we did a couple of months ago, but everything he does from here on out is building his legacy. And we're going to be looking a lot at his trophy case. There's a golden opportunity, pun intended, for him to win his first ever Olympic gold medal by participating in a true best on best tournament in February. And then after that, can he get the Edmonton Oilers back to the playoffs and back to a Stanley Cup final in the hopes of winning his first championship? This guy already, we've seen him grow into essentially the best player this era has probably ever seen with what he's able to do on the ice. But if he just has one or no cups to show for it, how are we really going to remember Connor McDavid? I think what we're going to see from him in February will make him an interesting personage to watch. The playoffs, obviously, you have to add to that. I think it's a no-brainer to have Connor McDavid on this list.
Yeah. You know what stands out to me about McDavid too, Julian, is like he was one of the players that really used his voice to say we need to be back at the Olympics. We need tournaments like the World Cup that's coming up and the Four Nations that happened last year. You know, I feel like no hockey player really gets that outspoken about anything, but it was like as close to we've seen him using kind of his influence, his voice to make something happen. Like he was very strong when it was up in the air about what was going to happen with the future of international hockey. And I only underline that because it tells us how much it means to him, right? Like it's not, I mean, we assume for anybody that there's a certain pride in representing your country and all these things, but like the truth is it's not, maybe like it's probably differing levels for different people. They have different connections to it. But I just think for him, you know, you're right. For the reasons you mentioned, like he's chasing like Mount Rushmore status in the game. So
yeah,
like he's measured by a different bar and he's only going to get so many Olympics. Now obviously he's going to have more than we would expect and Sidney Crosby will get from this point on, but you just never know what the team's going to look like, what's going to happen. So there's a golden opportunity there. And, you know, we'll see. The Edmonton they've gotten their season back on track, low key. I mean, they didn't start well, but it feels like the last two seasons where they were lost in the fall and by winter time, they're just humming and gearing up for a long run in the spring. So we'll see if they can do that again.
Oh, and on top of that too, Connor McDavid, who was like miles behind Nathan McKinnon for points, has like, they're right there. Like he's caught up to him. Yeah. Like it's insane.
You know, it's funny. I don't know like if another Art Ross trophy even means anything to him. You know what I mean? Like I doubt it means anything to him personally. But even like historically, like he's won 5 scoring titles, I think. Like whether if you win 5 or 6, I don't know that it changes too much. Like this guy actually has a chance, I think, to chase down Gretzky's all-time points record. Anyway, that's another matter altogether. He's got to stay very healthy and play till he's 40. But I mean, we only have to look at number 87 to say that it's possible. You know, he's pushing 40 and still pretty, you know, productive. So, yeah, good pick. I'm going to go a little too off the board, not fully off the board. Like this isn't Morgan Geeky off the board, like in our last episode. But I'm going with Jim Nill. And the reason I've gone with Jim Nill is, I mean, look, widely sort of viewed as one of the best, if not the best GMs in the league. But I kind of, like this isn't like Dallas. It feels like they have to win a cup, right? Like they've been to 3 straight Western Conference Finals. Their team's very strong again. They're right in the middle of that Central Division, whatever we want to call it. I mean, Minnesota, Colorado, and Dallas could be the 3 best teams in the league, depending how you view it. And you know, Jim Nill's got some cap space. You know, the Tyler Seguin injury is super unfortunate for Tyler, but it's, you know, it has put the Stars in a position where I think they can be pretty aggressive before the deadline. And we saw them be aggressive just a year ago, right? I mean, it was the Rantanen deal is the headliner, but they also went out and got, you know, Granlund and CC. And you know, I'm just curious. I feel like I wanted to isolate Jim in particular because there can't be a whole lot of patience in that organization right now, because they've just been knocking at the door so close. And then you arm them with the cap space, you arm them with the GM that I think does a good job of going out and making those kind of moves. And I just think that maybe it wouldn't be one that would be front burner for you or necessarily our listening audience if you're not living in Dallas. But I'm like, I could see the Stars, something big happening between now and March 6th. And if that does, the multi-time GM of the Year award winner will be in the middle of it.
I love the Jim Nill mention because the Dallas Stars are playing in a hotly contested division in the Central, with Colorado being as dominant as they've been, Minnesota turning into Quinnesota. The pressure should be on Dallas to do something. And if there's one GM, I mean, there are different like a Bill Zito, I guess, would also count for this too. But Jim Nill is a guy who I don't think is afraid to swing a deal if he needs to. I love the idea of us looking at the Dallas Stars as a team to make a big swing, because I think with the playoff success they've had, they've been so close for years and years. They're very close to becoming like this decade's San Jose Sharks, where they just had all these competitive teams, but never got one to win a cup. And I would hate for the Dallas Stars to turn into the San Jose Sharks. They're right there.
The good news is I don't think it's not this year or bust. Like what they've managed to do is they've like wound it up and got another young core essentially. So that like this isn't their only swing at it, but I just, it feels like a year that they're going to be in the batter's box taking a big cut.
Okay, so I like Jim Nill at number 3. This next one I think is going to steal your thunder a little bit, but
dun, dun, dun.
knowing our audience, knowing your job enough, I have a pretty good feeling you'll be talking about this person quite a bit in 2026. Keith Pelley, the president and CEO of MLSE, and of course overseeing the Toronto Maple Leafs. We all know the first half of their season has not been ideal. I think there will be a lot of eyes on Keith in terms of what he wants this organization to look like from management on down. And that extends to the players too. A lot of people, as you've probably seen from the Steve Dangle LFRs, not enamored with this team this year. I can't help but think that with Keith Pelley inserted in his position, of course, there will be eyes on him. This is very much low-hanging fruit, but there's no way we could do this list and not have Keith Pelley on it.
Well, it's a good call because, look, new ownership with the Leafs, there's been a change there, so that's a dynamic. And the problems the Leafs have, it would appear to me, they're not simple fixes, right? It's not, you could sit down with some smart hockey people who've done amazing things and they would have a different view on what you do. It would range from full scale rebuild, start again, to maybe that there's something closer to a retool available to them, is it a GM change? Like I just think there's not an obvious path for the organization, and obviously the person ultimately in charge of whatever path they go down will be Keith. So, I think that's a good pick because the Leafs have been, as much as they've been unstable in the sense that it always just seems like chaos here. They haven't really been unstable in the sense that they've been easily 100+ point team, been to 9 straight playoffs. Like they've been pretty steady in terms of being in the upper echelon in the league. And that's changed. That's flipped. And how you deal with the fallout of that is I guess why you get to occupy the corner suite and make the big bucks. Cause it's, there's a lot of people out there that have opinions on how you should do it. And I really at this point don't know what they're going to do.
Corner suite and make the big bucks. Why is the corner suite the more appealing one?
Because you get multiple windows in different directions.
Very fair point.
I think it's just view based. I think that's like where that comes from. I mean, it's so long since I've worked in a real office. I don't know if that, I might be like making references. I'm unking out here again. It's like in 2008 when everyone went to an office, the guy that was powerful had the corner suite.
Pre-COVID.
Now it's like
anyway.
Now it's like everyone goes to work in their track pants.
Yeah, from home, just with a bunch of snacks just piled up, not wanting to leave their office. Or is that just me?
It could be you. Do you know what? I heard a story, and I'm not going to mention names because it's not
Tell me.
It's not fair. But you know how like we do these, like the kind of hit we're doing right now, where it's on video if you're just listening to us audio wise. And you know, we do these kind of hits around the circuit. And a former pretty notable person in hockey was doing one of these recently. And at the end of doing his hit, he like stood up or the camera fell down or something, and he was just sitting there in his gitch, like doing the hit, like in like tidy whities.
What? Oh.
And it was like on camera. And somehow, I don't think this went viral. I heard about it from the people who were doing the hit with him. And again, I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, but I'm like, that's a level I won't go to. So just like, I want to put this out there. If you ever see me on camera and you only see me chest up, there is always pants or shorts on. But like, I can't believe like a notable person did that. I wish I could name him because I think he'd have a laugh about it, but it would be unfair.
Yo, after we record this, text us the name.
I got you.
That's uncut, bro. Like, put some pants on. Put some pants on. I don't care if you're home alone, you have nothing going on. I don't want to see your boxers. I don't want to see your posterior, your whatever you got going on. Stop it. Put something on. All right.
I would always just be scared of the camera falling too, or like, you know, anything happening. Like, it just doesn't seem right.
It's not quite as dangerous as like getting caught on a hot mic, which unfortunately in the last couple of weeks we have heard it has happened. Yeah. It's been in the news recently, but you know, no pants should be like number 2 in terms of faux pas with cameras and mics present.
Well, this is the thing is I think hot mic is I'm a little bit sympathetic to that one because that only gets out there if something goes wrong. This is like an unforced error. This is like you're encouraging something to go wrong. So anyway, I'll move on to my third pick, which is number 5 on our list.
Number 5.
Tough transition.
Anyone who wears pants.
Yeah. I'm going with Quinn Hughes.
I like it.
And, you know, I think for obvious reasons. I mean, the trade has been a short-term success for the Wild. They've been great since he got there. You know, as I mentioned, the Central Division has kind of my attention from a competitive standpoint. You know, can he tilt the scales for that team? And then what happens this summer? You know, he's eligible to sign his extension as of July 1st. And so, you know, either I would expect it's going to go down that he's signing an extension at some point this summer in Minnesota, or if he's not willing or prepared to do that, you know, we're probably talking about him getting traded again at some point. So, you know, I think he's going to be a central figure. And then on top of, you know, the obvious, kind of like we said with all the players so far, you know, he's going to the Olympics for Team USA and he's got a chance to win a gold medal. So, you know, he went from the end of the end of that last calendar year, 2025, where he's in Vancouver, clearly not enjoying himself too much. And, you know, kind of like, oh, this is like this lost season. And now look, you know, gets this trade and now he's chasing a gold medal Stanley Cup, you know, in the next 6 months. So just shows you how quickly fortunes can change. And I think, you know, he's obviously going to play a huge role for Team USA, for the Wild. And then he's going to be one of the key figures to watch this summer when it comes time to do some business.
Still can't believe that trade went off the way that it did. Still can't believe for both sides, Minnesota and Vancouver, it has seemingly worked out as well as it has. Like, just, I was just expecting this to like go into next summer or, you know, take its time before we got a resolution. But to see already that the Quinn Hughes matter has been, well, him being in Minnesota as soon as he has, like, I mean, the team has looked as good as they've been with him too. And Vancouver, again, they've looked great. Like, I'm still just really surprised that being such a storyline in 2025 as soon as it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful for it. It's interesting, right?
We all are.
I mean, Quinn Hughes probably makes this list even if he wasn't traded, frankly, but it would be for the reasons, hey, he's going to the Olympics and hey, he could get traded by March 6th. So he was probably making our top 10 either way, but the trade did spice things up a bit.
Okay, for my third pick, I'll let these two guys share it. And technically, a few people could share this all at once, but there's two people in particular.
Don't worry, there's no hard and fast rules, buddy. This is the first time we've ever done this, so
this is our podcast.
You can make up the rules. You can put 10 guys in this list if you want.
So, because at first I was going to say, and I mean, I guess I could say the Calgary Flames entirely, But there's really two people I want to focus on. I want to focus on Rasmus Andersson, who has been, if not the number one coveted trade piece on your big board, he's definitely been in the top 2, top 3 for the last how many months. And it seems like in 2026, we may finally get a resolution. Where is he going to end up going? Or if by some miracle, the Flames decide, all right, we're going to, or I don't know if miracle is the right word, but what if fortunes change and all of a sudden he finds a way to stay there? That's going to be a storyline, which then gets into Craig Conroy. A lot of talk about this team going through a rebuild or a retool and everyone being confused by that term. That trade deadline coming up, obviously his name is going to be in the headlines. Obviously that team situation is going to be in the headlines. And I think at that point, if they're still in this murky window where it doesn't seem as if they've committed to a real direction, I can see a lot of like the frustration just reaching to a boiling point. And it's already kind of tough, I think, to be a Flames fan right now with where this team is kind of heading. I know they've had more positive results lately, and it's good for the players in that room. But if you're hoping to get elite talent, is that the best way to go about things? Anyway, I think in 2026, between Rasmus Andersson's situation and Craig Conroy handling things as GM, we're going to talk about the Calgary Flames again. That's a storyline I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't have any answers for them. It's funny. There's like a couple teams. See? It's like I get there with Calgary. I've been there with Buffalo at times when we've had, inevitably gone into a Sabres conversation. It's just like at a certain point, you're like, I'm not sure. I mean, other than just, swallowing hard and going through the full rebuild, I'm not sure what the plan is.
Anyway, that's my third pick. So who's your fourth pick?
I am going to go a little off the board again.
Oh,
but I'm going with Sasha Barkov.
Oh,
and it's a shame. It does seem as though he will not be available for the Olympics, so that he's not getting like all the other top players, he's not getting the Olympic qualifier in this 2026 year look ahead. But I just thought we're kind of sleeping on the Panthers having a chance to win 3 straight cups. And, that's something that even the Oilers 80s teams never did. Like you have to go all the way back to that Islanders dynasty, late 70s, early 80s of winning 4 in a row to find a team that's even won 3 in a row. And the mere fact that the Panthers have a chance to do that is kind of crazy to me in a league with 32 teams, in a league with salary caps meant to redistribute talent around the league and keep nobody from being too dominant. And on the flip side of that, I think the idea of this system in the NHL is that no one's too bad for too long. And so in the scope of that, you have, the Panthers' arguably best player, who's been injured the entire season. Like, what can he come back? When does he come back? What can he be? Can he be the shot in the arm that they need to gear up for another long playoff run? I mean, certainly ability wise, I don't think anyone would question that, but it's just, there's some unknowns there, pretty serious knee injury he suffered back in September. So just what version of him will be able to return to the ice at some point in 2026. I think he'll be a compelling figure as a result of that. It seems to me the Panthers, after a bit of a wobbly start, are going to be in that playoff mix even without him. And so, we focus so much on the trade deadline and what trades teams are going to make. I mean, what bigger acquisition could the Panthers make than getting their captain back? And he's also got the chance he could be the first captain in a long time to win 3 straight cups, right? Like there's sort of a lot on the line for that organization for Sasha personally. And after what's been a tough end of 2025 for him, I can imagine hope is springing eternal right now as we ring in a new year and he knows he's going to be playing hockey again this year. Still just a question of when.
This goes hand in hand with me saying that the Panthers officially cemented themselves as villains in 2025. It's not going to make any more people like them in 2026 if they find a way to do it again.
I mean, I'm not betting on anyone, so I'm just using this as a term, but like I wouldn't bet against them. Like I wouldn't rule it out. The East still seems pretty wide open in a lot of ways. And those guys, like I think they will be able to flip a switch. Like usually you say teams can't do that, but I just think that group knows what it takes. Now, there is a question, like what will they have left at that point? I think, and it's a fair one. You have to go pretty deep in the emotional and physical reserves to get through a playoffs as any team that plays for 2 months. But for them to have been to 3 straight cups already, they're sending a whack of players to the Olympics. Like there could be a question of, do they just run out of steam at some point? And I think it's possible. But I also, in this timeline, as I sit here and imagine, I'm like, Barkov comes back, they're going to be feeling it. I mean, they already got Tkachuk back after his long absence. Like, it just, I could see it all like weirdly playing into their hands, that it's almost like gives them a little secondary kick that, in the dog days of the season that allows them to gear up for another run.
Even if the Panthers kind of wallow around a wild card spot, and there's maybe a couple more days in the months to come where they're still on the outside looking in, even if the Panthers snuck into the playoffs on the last day of the regular season, there's a strong chance I'm looking at them as a favorite no matter who they play in the first round, because you do not want to play those guys in the first round. The only thing that could beat them is themselves, considering that they've been to 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals, and that's a lot of ice time. That's a lot of games played over the last 3 or 4 years.
But I mean, Marchand still looks great, and presumably he's back on the third line if they're fully healthy. Like, again, it's a lot of ifs, I'm imagining, but like they could still roll out a pretty deep team when if you have Barkov, Tkachuk, Reinhart, Marchand, Luosterainen, like Lindell. It's a pretty sick team.
Absolutely.
Plus their decor, and Bob's been damn good for these 2 cups too. So, and 3 cup runs.
And Paul Maurice behind the bench. We've just been glazing the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, if you're going to glaze any team, probably the one that has been to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals is a good place to start.
I think so. Number 8, my 4th pick. I get it's a little dependent on where he ends up playing in February, if he plays in February. But I think it's already fine to say that we are watching one of the coolest sophomore seasons by any NHL player in Macklin Celebrini. And I should probably do that again, because I think by the time this is out, we'll know if he's on the team or not.
Just record it like he's on the team. He's on the team. Trust me.
Okay. All right, cool. I'll do that again.
Like, you can just, like, because it will just have been announced. So, like,
yeah, exactly. It's fine. So I'll just act like he's on the team. All right. Okay. So for my next pick, number 8, my 4th pick, Macklin Celebrini. He's going to represent Canada at the Olympics, and he's already being looked at for the MVP conversation. I don't think it's far-fetched to say we are watching one of the coolest and one of the most memorable sophomore seasons by any NHL player imaginable. Like, at the beginning of the year, we were wondering, like, hey, would Hockey Canada actually do this? Have a guy as young as he is on this team? They do like to skew older sometimes, but he's damn near deserved this opportunity. We are watching a superstar right now. Like, it's really cool to see Macklin Celebrini just be this good, this fast. And of course, we're going to be paying attention to him in 2026. We have to include him on this list.
Yeah, good choice. I mean, I feel like the hype train has now left the station, but the one thing that I think of with Celebrini is, like, some of us miss this kid a little bit. Like, he didn't get near the pub that a number 1 overall pick usually gets. Part of that was he was a little in the shadow at that time of Connor Bedard, who was picked first ahead of him, and obviously rewrote the World Junior record book for Canada, and had some monster eye-popping scoring numbers in the Western Hockey League. So, like, I think a lot of energy was put into Bedard, and rightfully so, to be fair. I'm not saying, but it almost, like, Celebrini just sort of kind of slipped through the shadows a little bit. And even in his rookie year, like, he had a really good rookie year. Obviously, he was a nominee for the Calder Trophy last season, but I don't think people were talking about him. Like, all of a sudden, everyone realized, hey, like, he legit has the game that he could be the best player in the league at some point. I'm not saying he is today, but, like, he's on that kind of trajectory. And, he's basically literally been on half the San Jose Sharks goals this season. And you're right. I think if they make the playoffs, I would expect he's going to get a lot of Hart Trophy love. Now, the problem is you've also got McKinnon and McDavid scoring at a rate where they could end up at 140 points. So, if Celebrini gets 110 and gets the Sharks in, like, he's going to get love, but it will be hard to to push him all the way to that. But the fact he's in the conversation, I think it's
still incredible enough.
What you're right. And, a teenager playing at the Olympics for Canada, it's never happened before in an NHL Olympics. So, I mean, this is brave new world. From the young guy, I'm going to finish my last pick to one of the old guys in the league. And
of course you would.
Alex Ovechkin. A lot of people kind of sleeping on this. He's playing out the final year of his contract, and we don't know what he's going to do. He's actually having a reasonably good year. The one thing I've noticed, though, is he's made his way around the circuit this year, Julian. A lot of pictures, trading jerseys with other players. He's always been a big collector of sticks and a whole bunch of things. He's actually said he wants to open, kind of his own little hockey memorabilia type of museum or something at some point. So it might just be a just in case, but it might be a sign of his intentions. I don't know where things are going to go with him in terms of he plays beyond this season. I know the Capitals will be more than happy to have him back, but he's got a big decision potentially. And we know that Anze Kopitar's going off into the sunset. Don't know what Ovechkin, I'm not even pretending to know what he's thinking, but the mere fact he's on an expiring deal and he's doing all these sort of meetups with the captain of each team he's facing. And, it kind of sets up that this could be it. So, I think given the career he's had, he's the Hall of Fame since Wayne Gretzky went in 99 has always had a 3-year waiting period for everyone. I mean, if Ovechkin were to retire, there's at least, might be a short conversation, but there's at least the conversation. Do we put him straight in? Cause they've done that with 7 or 8 players historically. And I think he's that level of player. So, the fact that could be the end for number 8, that gets him on our list for 2026, compelling people to watch.
Circle April 11th and April 12th on your calendars for 2026, because at least in the regular season, those matchups, Washington in Pittsburgh for the 11th, and then the second game is the second game of back-to-back. So Penguins and Caps. So you get back-to-back games between the Caps and the Penguins, the Caps and Pens, a home and home, which that could be the last time we see Ovechkin versus Crosby.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Capitals are making the playoffs, so he's probably going to play beyond that. But you're right. Like, that's the last scheduled event kind of thing. Yeah. Potentially. Anyway, who knows? Maybe he's signed a new contract by then. Even then, that'll be newsy. So I'm still comfortable with putting Ovi on our top 10.
So was that your 5th one?
That was my last pick. Last one? You're in the final seed here. I have to be honest with you. I have about like 5 or 6 other league-wide stories that I'd love to hit on. Like 10 almost wasn't enough for this particular exercise.
So we can go through some of those in our honorable mentions. There's a few.
Well, we got lots of episodes. we got lots of airtime to talk. I'm just saying this is not a complete list in my mind. It's just like it's kind of a working list.
You know what? So of the people I have left on mine, I have to admit I am actively picking one right now. Like Nathan McKinnon was going to be on this list, like for sure, no doubt, because I think he's the front runner for the MVP, and it will be fascinating to see how he maintains that, as well as the Colorado Avalanche, who have been the best team in the NHL to this point in the season. I'm also intrigued about Barry Trotz with what he could be doing in Nashville as a seller. Jarmo Kekalainen, the newly appointed GM in Buffalo, who's been building out his staff. I don't expect the Sabres to make the playoffs this coming spring. But what about next year? What is he going to do with this team in the offseason to get his team to a point where they can be a playoff team?
They might be a playoff team this season, man.
I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. But also, they have been playing well as of late. That is fair. That is very fair. But you know what? I'll do it. Jarmo Kekalainen. I'll put him one notch above Nathan McKinnon because, I don't know, I kind of just... We're going to obviously talk about Nathan McKinnon. Just because he's not in our immediate top 10 doesn't make him any less important. He also gets some of those similar attributes and qualities that I mentioned for Conor McDavid and the opportunity for him at the Olympics. But the Buffalo Sabres have just had this stretch of futility for years. Something has to change, and it did change in their front office.
Right. Well, I mean,
what does Jarmo Kekalainen do with it?
And what more change is coming? I mean, he's the most recent GM hired, right? So I think it's a safe pick because that means he's got some decisions to make, and he's got very little loyalty to the roster that's been there. He wasn't part of building the team, so I think it's sometimes easier to look clear-eyed at what might need to change. And I'm with you. I could very much see them being a team we're talking about a lot here in the next 2 months leading up to the trade deadline. I think there'll be movers and shakers.
I really enjoyed this exercise. Again, we did just before Christmas, and now this, where we surprised each other with storylines. and people like this was good. We'll try to do this again next year if we can.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it too. It's just that time of year. I feel like everyone's a little reflective. You're looking ahead. You're hopeful. I probably shouldn't have started with like trying to trade one of the all-time players in the league as my starting place. But other than that,
you tried.
Other than that, I mean, we already know our listenership in Pittsburgh's taken a dip probably for a couple of seasons now.
I'm pretty sure there are 100%ers in Pittsburgh.
There probably are. I'm not trifling with the 100%ers anymore. I told you that. I got too many angry comments and DMs and even a scolding from Jesse Blake about questioning how many 100%ers there were. So I'm going to assume there's tons of 100%ers walking around everywhere.
A New Year's resolution for the CJ Show: never doubt the 100%ers. That's something we'll hold dearly for 2026. Get your questions in for the first Ask CJ Show of 2026. You can hit us up on social media to get those in, and we'll get to them as quick as we can. Thank you so much for tapping in to our look ahead to the brand new year. Happy New Year, and hopefully you are all keeping safe. And we're looking forward to more episodes in 2026.
The Chris Johnston Show. Follow Chris on Twitter @ReporterChris and follow Julian @JKA McKenzie.
The Chris Johnston Show.